Good morning, class. Today we're going to be talking about the manipulator Jacobian, because what we want to be able to do is be able to map from motions about each of the joints in our robot to the velocity of the end-effector and the rotational velocity of the end-effector. And so on this picture I've got two examples that we're going to work through. We have just two different kinds of joints that we look at in this class: the prismatic joints, which slide back and forth, and the rotational joints, which rotate around the previous joint's z-axis. Well, we're going to use this example of this scrambler game. And so here's our example. This is a carnival ride where we have a motor that's in the center that turns this three arms around the center, and then there are these four cars that are based on the end of this link. And the question we had is, what is the angular and linear velocity out here, right on the edge of this car? And so we can model this as a two-link robot, where we've got a central joint, and Q1 is our angular position around joint 1, and Q2 is our angular position around joint 2. We've got a moment arm, or length R1 to the first joint, then we've got a distance of R2 from the second link out to the end effector, and the end effector in this case is our car. And commonly what we know is we know the position and we know the speed that each of these joints is moving. And what we'd like to do is compute what is the angular and linear velocity way out at the end of the moment arm. And that's what we're going to cover today. The key thing that we want to remember is that angular velocities can add together if you express them in the base coordinate frame. So the question we'd like to know is, what is our angular velocity of our end effector? That's omega n for an n degree of freedom robot in the base frame. We can calculate that by simply adding together what is the angular rate that we're spinning around each of our joints. And remember, in our robots, our rotation is always about the previous joint's z-axis. So omega n in frame 0 is going to be the summation of all our joints from 1 to n, where we're multiplying the rate. So in this case, for the first joint, it's theta 1 dot about the z-axis in frame 0. And then we take our second degree of freedom, which is theta 2 dot, and we rotate that around the z-axis in coordinate frame 1. And we do that all the way out to our nth degree of freedom is rotating around the previous joint. And so you can see this in this picture. If we want to know what is the velocity that we're spinning around this end effector way out at the end, we just need to know what velocity are we spinning around the first joint, the second joint, what velocity we're sliding along the z-axis, and we add these all together. And I say this sliding along the z-axis since that sliding motion is a prismatic movement. There's no theta value to multiply it, and so that will add nothing to our angular rate. So our first question that we're going to look at is, what is the velocity of a point attached to a moving frame? Okay, we're going to say that P is rigidly attached to a moving frame 1. It's important that we draw this out. So we've got a point P. I'm going to label this. This is point P, and it is rigidly attached to a moving frame 1, which is only moving by rotation. And so we need our base frame. This is my base frame, which is going to be x0, y0, z0, making sure it's a nice right-handed frame. And then we've got a moving frame, which is completely defined by just a revolution. And then there's a vector. We can draw our vector to P. And this vector in frame 0 is going to be P0. And P0 is related to P in frame 1 by a rotation matrix, R, which goes from frame 1 into frame 0. But this is a rotation matrix that is varying with time. So I've got R1 as a function of time. Now, if I want to know the velocity of point P, what I'm really saying is, how fast? What is this velocity of P? The only thing that's reasonable is by talking about a reference frame. And we're saying that P is rigidly attached to this frame. So as I rotate frame 1, it's rotating in place. And so it's rigidly attached to that. So my velocity in my frame 1 is going to be 0. I want to know what is the velocity in frame 0. And to do that, I'd say, well, v is equal to the time derivative of p0. I've got two terms in here, so I'm going to have to do the product rule. So the derivative of the first, r1 0 dot times p1 plus r1 0 times p1 time derivative. Two terms here, so let's split that up. Let's look at this first term here. This is saying, well, I just need to know how fast p is moving in frame 1. We said it is rigidly attached. So this term here is going to be 0. There's no component there. And so the only component that I have to worry about is what is this component here. But we know from our previous lectures that the derivative of a rotation matrix is going to be just a skew-symmetric matrix, which is totally defined by what axis it's revolving around, multiplied by the vector p. And so we write that as just our skew-symmetric. We are rotating around some axis, omega, times r1 0 times t times p1 plus 0. So that is our velocity is equal to p dot 0 is equal to this term here. We can do a few stages of simplification. The first thing that we're going to look at is this is just the rotation of p1 into frame 0. So it's p0. So we've got s omega naught times p0 is equal to our velocity. We can do one final stage of simplification, and that is remembering that our skew-symmetric generalizes the cross product. So our velocity, our total velocity, is just going to be omega naught cross p0. Now some of you may be saying, well, what is this omega naught? Well, omega naught is really a time-varying, well, it might be a time-varying axis, but it's just what axis is R1 currently rotating around. So I'm going to use my blue pen, and that's axis that it's rotating around. I'll draw that in a dotted line. This is omega t. We're doing the cross product omega t cross with p in frame 0. And that gives us our instantaneous velocity of our vector. Now, let's complicate things some more. What if frame 1 is not coincident with frame 0? For instance, what if frame 0 is my base frame and frame 1 is attached to a joint that's further along? We can handle that on the same page. I'm going to have to change my drawing just a little bit because I now have my base frame, 0, y, 0, z, 0. And then perhaps there's some joint that is linking that up, but I've got to move a distance. And the distance that I have to move here is going to be O1 in frame 0. That gets me to my next frame, which I will write like here. Say this is x1, y1, z1. And then again, let's say that there is a point P that is rigidly attached to frame 1. So this is P. Now this is different because this O1 is a function t. This might be time varying. If this is a joint that's rotating here and another joint that's rotating here, this is changing as well as this rotation is changing. So let's refigure this out. We've still got it rigidly attached to frame 1, but now in order to talk about where this frame is, we need an homogeneous transform. And so we say h1 in frame 0, this is a function of time t. It's equal to a 4x4 transformation matrix that encodes a rigid body transformation. We know that this bottom row is going to be 0, 0, 0, 1. This term here is what is O1 in frame 0 as a function of time. And this 3x3 matrix here is what is the rotation 1 in frame 0 as a function of time. If we want to talk about, well, what is P in frame 0? That is related to P1. We've got to rotate P1 to be in from frame 1 into frame 0. And we also have to add in, that just rotates this to say, what is this P vector in frame 0? So we can think about, I'm translating this vector down here and saying, how far is it in frame 0? I also have to take into account this offset. And this offset is O1 in frame 0 of t. Now, if I want to take the time derivative of this quantity, I take p dot 0. It's equal to, well, I've got two terms in here. We've already solved this term from the previous step. And so rather than write it out again, I know that this term here, the time derivative of a rotation matrix is going to be a skew-symmetric times that rotation matrix at that time. and then I'll multiply that by P1. I also have this other term, which is R10 times P dot in frame 1, but that is 0 because this is rigidly attached to frame 1. So this entire term here is going to be just omega naught, function of t, cross P0. This term on the right-hand side, this term here, that is just, how fast is this changing? And so that is a velocity that this is moving. And so we can just say, well, this term here is going to be, the velocity of that frame. We can call that velocity v. And then if we want to draw this out, again, we've got this matrix 1 is rotating instantaneously about some vector. I'm going to write it omega. In order to add these together, we've got to talk about what it is in the base frame. This point here is moving at some velocity. The coordinate frame here has got some linear velocity v, and we're taking omega naught cross p in frame 0. And that gives us our cross product that tells us, the contribution from this rotating. If you think about it, what we're saying is we're moving this frame, and so as this frame is moved because of the previous joint, there's some velocity that this has, but there is also a rotation joint that's rotating this joint. That's the rotation contribution here. Those together give us our entire velocity.